An ordinary day at a diner. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air as the Manhattan diner bustled with the usual lunchtime crowd. Waitresses moved swiftly between tables, balancing trays of pancakes and burgers, while the chatter of customers created a warm, familiar hum. At a corner booth, Donald Trump sat with two business associates, sipping his coffee as they discussed upcoming projects. Despite the chaos around him, his presence commanded a quiet authority. Some diners stole quick glances, a few even tried to snap discreet photos, but for the most part, life carried on as usual. A few tables away, 10-year-old Oliver Green sat rigidly across from his guardian, Victoria Green. His hoodie swallowed his small frame, and he kept his gaze locked on his plate, pushing scrambled eggs around with his fork. Every movement was hesitant, every breath careful, like a soldier navigating a minefield. Victoria's polished nails tapped against her coffee cup as she scrolled through her phone. She barely looked at him before snapping, "Eat, Oliver." Yes, ma'am," he mumbled, forcing a bite down. To any outsider, they looked like just another family having lunch. But Oliver knew better. This wasn't a meal, it was a test. One wrong move, one misplaced word, and there would be consequences when they got home. He needed to act fast. A desperate cry for help. Oliver had spent years enduring Victoria's cruelty. When his parents died in a tragic accident, she had taken him in, not out of love, but for the inheritance money. She made sure he was fed just enough, clothed just enough, and hurt just enough that no one would question it. He had tried to tell people, his teachers, his neighbors, even a school counselor. But Victoria always knew the right lies to tell. But today, Oliver had a plan. With trembling fingers, he reached for a napkin and gripped a crayon from the kids' menu. His heart pounded as he scrawled three simple letters: help. He hesitated, then added, "She hurts me." A lump formed in his throat as he folded the napkin into his fist. He had thought about doing this 100 times before, but never had the courage. But today, Donald Trump was in the room. Oliver had seen him on TV before. His teacher once said he was one of the most powerful men in America, a man who could fix problems. If anyone could save him, it was Trump. His heart raced as he slid out of his booth. "Where do you think you're going?" Victoria's voice was sharp, suspicious. "Bathroom," Oliver whispered. She waved him off, distracted by her phone. He had seconds, not minutes. With careful steps, he approached Trump's table, his stomach twisted into knots. What if he ignored him? What if he handed him back to Victoria? Trump looked up, just as Oliver stopped beside him. The child's hands were shaking as he extended the napkin. Trump's brow furrowed. "What's this, kid?" He unfolded it. His expression darkened instantly. A storm brewing. Trump's eyes lifted from the napkin to Oliver's face. The boy wasn't just nervous, he was terrified. Trump's voice was steady but firm. "Stay right here." He turned to one of his associates. "Call the police, now." The entire diner fell silent. People exchanged glances. Waitresses froze mid-step. Something was happening. Victoria, noticing Oliver standing near Trump's table, stormed over. "Excuse me, sir," she said with an exaggerated smile. "Is my nephew bothering you?" Trump folded the napkin and placed it on the table, his eyes never leaving hers. "No, ma'am, but you and I need to have a conversation." Victoria's smile flickered. "I don't know what you're talking about." The diner doors swung open. Two NYPD officers stepped inside. "The truth unfolds. Ma'am, we received a report," one officer said, approaching Victoria. "This is ridiculous," she scoffed. Oliver is my nephew. He's making up stories. One officer knelt beside Oliver, his voice gentle. Is what you wrote true, son? Oliver's throat felt tight. His body wanted to tremble, but he forced himself to stand tall. Yes, he whispered. She hurts me. She took my parents' money. She keeps me locked in my room when no one's looking. Victoria's fake composure cracked. That's a lie, she shrieked. Trump leaned back in his chair, watching her unravel. Check with Child Protective Services, he said. They'll tell you if there have been prior reports. The officers exchanged a glance. One reached for his radio. Victoria's face drained of color. Ma'am, you need to come with us, the officer said. You're gonna believe some brat over me? Trump met her gaze, unflinching. Yeah, we are. A new beginning. By the end of the week, Victoria was charged with child abuse, neglect, and financial fraud. Oliver's case made national headlines. Trump saves abused boy at NYC diner. Reporters swarmed the scene, eager for a statement. When they finally got a comment from Trump, his words were simple. Any decent person would have done the same. But Oliver knew the truth. Not everyone would have. Days later, sitting in his new foster home, safe and warm for the first time in years, he looked out the window at the falling snow and whispered, "Thank you." The aftermath, justice and redemption. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Victoria faced trial, and as the details of her abuse surfaced, the public was outraged. Witnesses came forward, neighbors who had heard Oliver crying at night, teachers who had noticed bruises but were manipulated into believing Victoria's lies, and even a former babysitter who had quit after witnessing Victoria's violent temper. Oliver, for the first time in his life, felt seen. But it wasn't easy. Despite being safe in a temporary foster home, the trauma lingered. Loud noises made him jump. Certain words triggered a fear response he couldn't control. He found himself expecting punishment for mistakes that never came. One day, while watching the news, he saw Trump's face on the screen. The headline read, Business Mogul Rescues Abused Child, a story of courage and kindness. Oliver's heart swelled with gratitude. That night, he made a silent promise. He would never let fear control him again. Thanks for watching Storytime with Elif. If like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional, inspiring, and amazing content. Your next favorite story is just a click away. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications.